big tub dioramas coming at you. We got the rhino on the riverbank. Whoa. Here's Owen chopping away at the monster log. Gramps watching. Trying to get the last piece out. Look at that. Nice. Yeah, we got a better thing now. It's February on the Mousom River, and it's procurement day in the twisty forest. And these vines are going to do just fine for my next project, which is the new holder of the Sheleighly stick for the Manahan clan. And this is the one that I'm going to pick. It's got some upper areas, and I'll drop that down, the stick right down the middle, and we're going to turn that into a family heirloom that we can hand off from person to person. Keep it in your house for a while. There may be some marbles involved. We shall see. But this is February 23rd, 2024. Can't wait. Here we are in the beginning of March 2024 on a project that I'm calling the Celtic Sabertooth Tiger. And I'm going to take this huge log that I got out of the river with Owen, with a little bit of help from the goat, my dad, who was sitting in the kayak sort of helping guide us. And as I showed you out in the woods, we're going to take that with the Sheleighly stick and put it somewhere inside the base of this huge log to create, let's just say maybe a wee people village. I'm hoping to make the base very perfectly flat, but in order to do that, I used, when it was standing up vertically, I used this square ruler along the floor, and I measured it out, but it would only go that far, and I wanted it a little further up. So hopefully this line will be consistent all the way around, and when I'm done cutting all the way around it, it will be nice and even on the floor, and I won't have to do a whole lot of leveling. Well, I finally have a nice stool down here, and that was because it came off the bottom of the bigger piece. So that is now officially one piece. That kind of looks like an eagle eating a rodent or something. Anyway. So this piece is going to go inside of that piece, and right now I'm actually using my chisel. I haven't used one of these in a long time, but I'm clearing out the branch that this vine had gone around. So I'm taking this and I'm chipping that out, and you have to carve it out, and somehow I'm going to put the Sheleighly stick right down the middle. So I'll believe it when I see it. This is an interesting development. I'm using my strongest Dremel head, that's super sharp one, to carve out a path for the glow-in-the-dark ball to get through. And I did a few days ago from here to here. So maybe it was a week ago, and we've had a lot of rain, and this is down in the basement, and I can't get any of the marbles to fit anymore. So this wood on the outside is so strong that when I carved out the middle, it actually is collapsing in on itself. So I don't know how much I'm going to have to take out of the middle to make this work, but it's going to make it harder because it's not going to stay. Once I do it the first time, I'm probably going to have to do all of them the second time. So, but you know what? It's worth it for the marble roll. Phase 1 is done. I finally carved out the inside of the twisty vine, and it does have a marble drop that goes all the way through it. You can probably see there's a space there where the marble goes through. And so right now it works even with the cane in there, or the stick, I should say. So it's sitting inside the mouth here. I'm calling this the mouth because I think it looks like a bird's eye and a beak. This is the lower part of the beak, and it's like eating this worm or whatever it is. But as we turn this thing around, I'm going to try and do some chutes and ladders off of that. This is going to be the main zone with the farm and, you know, some leprechaun type wee people stuff. And as we go around this way, see, I got it on a turntable that I got from one of my other ones. Here's the cat, the saber tooth. As it's coming in, you can see the right paw and the left paw, and there's the teeth. It's kind of a, I don't think I'm going to have anything go through there. It's a little bit fragile, but so I'm probably going to have to drill a hole in there to actually drill that on. It's a little not super smooth getting the stick in and out right now, but as we go to the back, you can see there's just a massive amount of space back here, and I'm thinking about the plinko board, some type of just crazy plinko, and you got to catch the marble down here and have it maybe have a little rim going around of some rail or something into this side where it can feed back into the middle. You know, who knows? But all right, it's gonna get good. Okay, we moved out to the outdoor workshop. It's getting nice enough. You can see the grass is getting green. April 12th, I think. And I'm gonna make my first drop, marble drop, and I'm calling it the sloth drop. So you can see here's the front of the project here, and I want to make one on the left and one on the right, and I think that this kind of looks like the head of a sloth, and his neck comes down here. There's his shoulder and his arm, and then there's a natural little hook in the nail right there, and I'm going to have a ramp, and they're going to shoot it into a hole here, which is going to go to the drop on the other side, which is going to be called the booger drop. But I'll also have you can see sort of, it looks like the body of a sloth. There's, you know, there's this big scaly kind of bark, which could be their matted fur. And so then there's going to be a secondary drop that goes, well, actually, that starts up here. It's like his throat. He's going to swallow it. It's going to go down to this middle area. You can't see, but it's deep right there. I'm going to have like a swirly place for the stomach. From there, it's going to basically drop down into the intestines, and this twisty area is going to represent the Oxbow River, or whatever that river was called at Grandma and Grandpa's house. That was formed the Oxbow, which then was called Oxbow Farm. The farmlet area will be down here. This is kind of going to have, well, I'm not sure yet what that is, but part of it is going to go here, and it's going to ramp around here, and then this is going to be the launcher over to the main area. But there's going to be a blocker here if you want it, and it's going to trickle down here, and then that's going to go under the hand, and it's going to trace into here, and this is going to be a nose, and so you'll get a little booger ball that drops down through one side of the nose here, and on the other side, when I explain that later, that's the other side of the booger drop. That's the real one. So all right, here goes nothing. Here we are on the first element, and I'm at a serious impasse. There's the top of the sloth drop, and then I made a hole, drilled a hole straight through instead of going around like in the, what I was going to kind of say, like the intestines or even the oxbow from the river. There's a few things that I've changed, and I wanted as much speed as I could getting through here because I wanted this to come around and hit this natural bank turn. And I was originally going to have, you know, something like this. And this thing is bendable, and then I was going to send it off the ramp, and I wanted to shoot it over on this side and have, well, I was going to have maybe one of Grandpa's shot glasses, and you make a basket, but I'm going to, I think, bounce it, try to see if I can find a way to bounce it off of the vine around the Sheleighly stick, and then have a path going through here, and then have another drop down to the nose here. But there's not enough speed coming out of this chute through here, and I did a few different iterations, and you can see the carving in there is, it's pretty intricate, and it's a little hard to control it coming out of here. So I think what I might do is, because all the speed dies right after here, I might try and find a way to shoot it into what's going to be the home base right here, which is the petrified, what I'm calling the petrified maple. No, sorry, walnut. This is the walnut tree. And I think what I might do is I might put this on something that goes around in a circle so that you can actually turn this, because at Grandpa and Grandma's farm, they had a post that went up here, a post across, and then down, and then the Irish stew kettle was hanging underneath it. So I couldn't find the right size farms, you know, like little miniature farms to put in, because originally I was going to have a barn and horses and stuff like that, but it just, there wasn't a good selection. So I'm just going to stick with the main piece of the front yard, which was the Irish stew kettle, which is kind of cool because we had these Irish stew parties. And then find a way to get the ball inside of that, or somehow to spin this. That will drop down underneath. That's going to go through the lower channel to the nose drop over here in the middle. And I'll have a couple of different, one nose drop coming from here, down into the mouth, which is here. But I also have this launcher, and I want to figure out a way that if I can pop this launcher to send something over to here and then have that come down, since there's not enough speed coming off of the turn to fly it. But I want to have some skill involved. You know, it can't just be luck. So I got to make it reproducible. So it's not easy, but you know, we'll see if the luck or the Irish is with me. Almost forgot to show you what it's like. There it goes. Oh, that's it so far. One of the things I like the best about doing these projects is I get to go and get all kinds of new tools at the hardware store. I had to drill a pilot hole to hold down this ramp, but this area just, I couldn't fit the drill in there, so I used my extension and found a bit that has actually like drill bits on the end of it, which is cool. So now I got the pilot hole in there and at the bottom, and you see I'm going to put these screws in, and I'm going to put some wood glue into the hole to try and make this more stable. The key is that I have to get the angle of this ramp just right, or it's not going to go down into this slot very well. So if it doesn't work, I can redo it, but we'll see if it goes on the first try. We have a new wee little friend here. This is Cedric. He'll be joining us for the remainder of this project. And he came in today from a secret location, and he gave some inspiration for changing up how I was going to do the marble drop into the Irish stew pot. So originally, you know, I had drilled big drill in there, and I was going to have it come around and sort of shoot in this way, and I was going to try to build a ramp that you could put it in. There was just not enough speed coming around this corner, and so I had to reconfigure, and somehow Cedric could have been, I'm taking a smaller piece, and this one actually, this one's movable. It's got a screw about this long in there to hold it, and you can angle it a little bit and bring it up and hopefully drop it into here. So I'm going to go all the way from the top and see if I can get it to drop in. Now, sometimes the marble just comes down and it flies off. It doesn't always go down the middle, but you know, maybe Cedric will bring some luck. So, all right, here we go. Let's try it. Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm videoing this right now. Hoo-hoo, Twisher. Said. Love it. I'm just finishing up a cool project that's going to go at the bottom of the marble drop. It's the hearth for the Irish stew kettle, and I got some pictures from my cousin Matt on how it looked, so I'm going to try to mimic that, and I have some other accessories coming in from Etsy. And I did my first tongue and groove, and you can see I cut holes in there, and I'm going to put this all together and then put it in a place that fits just right for the marble to come down, you know, into, and then have it drop into the Irish stew kettle. And this will go in here, but I use this Ryoba Japanese saw. This thing is amazing. It's so precise. And then I got to go in and carve out the holes in the middle there into a square, which was really interesting. I had to find the right, you know, small little sander. So I'm gonna mash this all together and start running some test runs to see where the best place is to put it up here, because it's gonna have to be right at the right spot so that the ball doesn't hit the top, but it goes in, and have room for the kettle underneath it to make some twishes. We'll see if the luck of the Irish keeps going like it did on the last little drop I did. Woo! Well, that was a very interesting project, side project. You can see I have the sort of the setup for the kettle, and I'm not going to do a string. I don't think it's not going to work. And these little kettles that I got are metal, and so I wanted to be able to land the marble in there and then have it drop down, and that turned into a very big project. As you can see, that thing took me a solid half an hour to drill straight through there with every bit that I had. And now it does actually have the ability to take a marble and whoop, voila, it goes through. So we'll see. I want to put that right through the petrified wood and have it drain down into the Oxbow River, actually the Wantawan River. Well, learned a hard lesson here today. I'm no stone cutter, that's for sure. And I was trying to use this diamond tipped drill to cut a hole there because I had to have a place to stabilize the hearth that carries the stew pot. And I got halfway down through the whole thing. I'm like, oh, this is going good. I'm going to punch a hole right through there, and I can put a screw through it. Peachy. And then I had to stop and take out the screw, and the whole round piece just started spinning and just broke apart. So I will be reevaluating up here, and sorry, I have my light on there. This is I'm gonna end up just filling this whole area in with resin, which had kind of been my original idea before we went to this rock show, and I found that petrified wood, which I thought would be a cool platform, so that's why I carved all that out. But you know what, just gotta work on the fly here, so I'm sure it'll come out just fine. When out of my regular order, I usually don't put resin in until the very end when all the carving's done, but I needed to move forward with the patch of grass once, especially after the petrified wood broke. So here's the arm coming down. I'm going to put a claw right there, see if I can push the ball back up into there, but As you can see, I had to use a lot of clay type stuff to patch in these gaps. It started leaking through when I put in the resin last night. It started leaking down behind this. There's some loose stuff, and I had put a whole bunch of liquid nails in there to patch it, but unfortunately it still leaked. So also, I don't know if you can see it, but right there I put a chunk of can't remember the name of the mineral it is, but it's like a little patch of gold underneath the hearth. And so I'm going to sit here and carve this out and see what happens. Or maybe a big hole underneath the arm when I get done. Some big changes here at Big Tubs, and I'm pretty happy with how things turned out after the giant, piece of petrified wood broke. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I finally got my bear sloth, big giant claw. This came from like Sri Lanka. It's a resin molding of an actual bear sloth, which I don't even know what that is, but it's pretty cool. It fits really well, and it kind of goes with his arm right up to the shoulder, into the head. And it's like a little pinball thing, and you can flick the ball up. And underneath here, I made a hole that fits the marbles, and then that drops down underneath here in a groove that I made that comes down all the way to here, and then that's going to go on the piece of agate that I have, like the river. I'll show you that when I do the next section. That's going to be the Wantawan River that it drops down into, and it goes back and forth. The marble goes slowly and has a groove underneath here to guide it, so it actually guides it from above instead of below. And then I'm going to have a waterfall where it goes right down to the edge of the mouth, and then it's going to cruise right along the bottom of the mouth as it comes through here. So I'll show you that once I finish that piece. But when the marble comes down, it can land in the Irish stew pot, and then you can tip it into there, or you can flick it here. I'm going to try to have something where it comes around, and there's going to be an upper alleyway that goes through here, what we'll call the horse path over the river. That will go into the nose as well. So there's still a lot to do, but I'm really happy with how this turned out, because this thing's kind of fun to play around with, and it's pretty cool when it goes down here and dribbles down through the river. So we'll see how the waterfall comes out. Woo! So one of the tricks here, when the ball comes through the tube from the grassy area where the stew pot is, and it goes down here, it has to ricochet off of this in order for it to go down the river, what I'm calling the little stream here. You can see there's like a little oxbow area there. So I had to make a mock-up with clay to bounce it off that I put underneath there in the corner, and then it would ricochet out, but that I know wasn't going to last, so I ended up making one as close as I could out of wood. And so this comes from those little maple pieces that I have, so I'm going to have to glue that in, and then that will last a lot longer in that corner on the bottom. So I'm going to do that right now. I just want to show this Mexican crazy lace agate. That's what this is called. And before I put it in, so you have a full view of it. So what'll happen is the marble will drop down the chute. It'll hit this. It'll bring it out under here, and then I have grooves over the top that have it track down through here, and then it's going to drop down into the waterfall. But when I saw this at the rock show we went to, I just thought this is cool. It's like the Wantawan River going through. It's not a good oxbow, but there's somewhat of a little oxbow there, and that's the part that'll be sticking out that people can see. So that's what it looks like in full. It had this side didn't work as good because it didn't fit right inside the groove, but it's got a good pop out right there too. So, Mexican crazy lace. Whew, just got done with a huge session. It was hard. I got made a place for Cedric here behind the stew pot and drilled down into the grass to create a place for this mushroom, rock mushroom that he's going to stand on like that. And then I'm going to get a ladle for him. But that's kind of got to hold that place. And then down here you can see the lazy river going down there, and that's where it comes through. Unfortunately, had to use a popsicle stick underneath it to kind of brace the outer edge, because there was a spot right here where sometimes it would the marble would come through. But so far it's dropping down pretty well down the drop off and then into the mouth. So when that's all dry, we'll go over that. Making a big move today on part 2. We got the marble drop down the vine, goes around the stick, and I'm just about ready to put some resin in. And you can see down at the bottom, ooh, some gold, guarded by one of the rare Wanwan River fresh octopus. So that I'm going to fill up with a light blue to make it look like a lake or kind of a place where the water drains off. And then the marbles will drain down from the stick down to the nose and into the mouth. What is this, you ask? That was the pillows that the whole piece was sitting on, resting it up so that I could get an angle on the inside pool. And I knew it was a possibility, but it did leak all the way through. I had already pre-glued these areas to patch them up because I was worried that at the bottom of the pool, which is where the bottom of the stick is, that it would leak through, because this is a pretty leaky piece of wood. And you can see where the resin got glued to the piece. So I had to cut that out. Unfortunately, that's kind of like the pillow I use a lot while I'm working, but yeah, we'll get it to work. So I'll have to shave that down and smooth it out. But yeah, one of those things. Well, the good news is the pool looks pretty good at the bottom. You can see the cauldron with the gold in it. It's just that the octopus is a little bit too low. I should have had one of the tentacles coming up over the top, but it's down in there. So let's see how it looks when it goes down in. Okay, so then right at the end I need to drill a hole, and that is going to be interesting because I wanted to open the mouth up deeper in there, but I don't know if you can tell with that drop right there is a huge crack in there, and I think if I open up the mouth, this chunk is actually going to come off. You can see there's a line here, so I think I'm just going to have to drill a hole straight through with this huge drill bit and go right into the bottom so it can drain down into the mouth and the tongue. So here we go. Cedric is very puzzled with what's going on, this new find he has. And as you can see, the hole now goes all the way up to the pool, and it comes down into here, 2 different spots. Sometimes it flies right out. Cedric can find some type of way to get up to mischief there, because a little history lesson, as you may or may not know, leprechauns associated with burying gold, and it's because they dug it up from the Vikings. After the Vikings left Ireland, they left behind gold, and so there's another little area around here somewhere that also has some buried treasure. But they're also tricksters, so if you go down and get some gold under there and swim underwater, the octopus is waiting. Okay, let's give Cedric a demo. And I'm going to put this down through. Oh! And there it came out. It's kind of cool because I don't know if you can see I have a V there, and that's sort of the tongue, and sometimes it goes to the left and sometimes it goes to the right. And I'm just going to start popping some in. And it came out. Oh! There. Sometimes they do jump out a little bit. He's impressed. I just have to do a quick short one on how lucky I got with the angle of this hole. I had to go along the side, do some mental trig, figure out the angle and the depth from side to side, and then when I came out with the drill head, it came out exactly on the top of the little pond, which is where I was aiming. And Cedric even had a little jump of joy because I couldn't believe I hit it right on the nose. Saved me a lot of time, and it was a good rush. I'm nearly finished with the left side of the project. I spent time figuring out the drainage hole here. When it doesn't go down the river drop, you have now the booger drop. So through here, it comes through here, and this was a very cavernous, loose, wooded area, so I had to make a connector through here with some long screws. But you can see through the hole, when it comes down through the hole, it was jumping the track a little bit here if it didn't hit the stopper. So I actually had to put in 2 little stoppers right here to ricochet the ball this way, so then it would go this way and go down, and it's working now. And so what happens is it goes down into the nose, and you can put your finger in here and stop the ball right there and push it to the right, and when it does that, it goes down into what I call the tip drip. And so the ball will go right here, and I'll show you in a minute. And it sits right here, and it doesn't come out at the end of the nose because the Manahans have this thing where they always get a little drip of water on the end of their nose or something. So now you can take that drip and you can push your finger back, and the ball, if you push that little drip, or I guess booger, goes back down into here. And I was going to have it where you just pick the booger out of the nose right here, but I went too far, and it ended up connecting with the river drop over here. And so now it more or less turns into a hawker kind of and goes down into your mouth. So ended up pretty sweet. So I'll show you a little bit here. Oh, missed that. That was the full ride. Okay, so there I caught it. Whoop, see, and then I popped it into the little tip drip. It doesn't quite go out, but you got that little winter drip there that we've always seen with several of the members of the family. And there you go, down into, just get rid of it, swallow it, or spit it out. Just when I thought I was pretty much almost done with this left side, I forgot that I had to make a lever of some kind to help move the claw that swings the ball up in, because it's hard to just do it with your fingers. And I found this key that I thought was interesting because it has a similar look of a triskelion, which is a Celtic symbol of the manifestations of the physical body, the spiritual world, and the afterlife. But it's also the right kind of thing for a lever to push with your thumb and pull with your finger so that you can move this. And I did some pretty delicate drilling in there today, and I'm going to color that in black, and hopefully it will be strong enough to move it around without just coming out. But you know, let's give it a try. So I've been spending some time making this cool channel through the left side, well, the back side of the project, because the plinko drop is going to come down through here, and then I want it to drain into the Viking horn, which represents our Nordic ancestry. That's going to go in here, but see, I also needed a handle on this side, so I'm going to put some finger grooves in here and be able to, this is going to be the handle to help pick up, but it's also going to be able to transfer the marbles from here down into here. And then I realized this was going to go all the way through into the front down here through the tunnel, but then I realized the marble doesn't fit actually through that. So you can see that's pretty thick, this horn. I think it's a buffalo horn maybe. And so I'm going to get this to go further in that way and then have the marbles go through it. But I got a lot more carving to do, so we'll see how it turns out. All right, it's a long shot if this is going to work, but went to my Aunt Nancy's, finally found a shot glass that my grandfather got. It's actually, I think it was in celebration of my birth in 1968 in Malaysia. It's a pewter shot glass from Malaysia, and unfortunately I made a rookie mistake as I was traveling back home. You probably can't see it very well. It's a picture of a donkey getting pulled by a guy with a cart and a couple of palm trees, but on the way home I didn't put it in a sock, and it ended up resting up against a metal piece and just completely destroying the whole center of it. So I'm going to show more of this, and what I'm doing is they have the nose section, is I carved out an area here, and where that hole is that's going to be the second way that you can get into the booger drop. So what I'm going to do is I have carved a hole, you can see right there, that goes down to the right nostril, but that turns out to be the only nostril, and that's another way. Now that one didn't come all the way through, but sometimes it comes all the way out, sometimes it slides all the way through, and then you can just push that back in and it'll go down. And in order to get it to move out of the hole in the cup at the bottom, I'm going to take one of these. You can see how there's a little slant there, and I'll fit that into the bottom once I drill this into the trunk of the tree here, and then it should roll right down into the nostril every time. Surprise. And I'll let you know later how I'm going to do that. Get the ball into the cup. Here it goes, liquid nails again, and you can see it's kind of a weird setup I got, but I had to actually cut a little piece of wood and put it there and here, and then these screws are super long, and I drilled those in, and then I'm going to put liquid nails in. I'm going to put this little piece, so you can see it's bigger in the one side than the other, and then that's what will ramp it down into the hole in there, and hopefully it'll work. Woo! I'm really winging it here, a little out of my comfort zone, but I've been trying to come up with ways to catch the ball as it comes out of the horn from the back, and then the ball is going to sit right here, the marble, and I'm going to drill. You guys see I got a hole. I'm going to drill that, and I did a bunch of carving to get this to fit underneath there. And the idea is that you can flick this down, and hopefully that will shoot it up into the cup, because I've been trying to come up with ways to use this to flick it up like that and shoot it, but I have no idea how I would attach this, and this thing gonna have potential to break. It's just got a small little rubber band in there. So I'm going to put this together and it might not work, and I might come up with some other variation, but if we can flick it in, that's good. And this is good just for shooting baskets. You can just shoot it in, it still comes out the nose, but we'll see how this ends up. Well, taking chances pays off sometimes, and the incredible happened. I have a lock bolt down here. I'm going to cut that off, and the screw went through okay. The ball comes through just fine. You have to sort of tip this up and block it. But once you get this down, and this might not work because it works better with the right hand, there's actually a trick to it, but you can actually make a basket. So we'll see. Whoop, that went pretty far. But believe it or not, you can actually twish it right in, and it's pretty satisfying. Luck of the Irish. This was an unexpected addition, which there always is, but when you flip this up and try to get it in, you can do it, but it's not easy. So I'm gonna add a little helper, and I cut a piece of walnut here, and that's gonna fit in under here. I'll screw it in, and that will give, and I got some finger holds there to hopefully give you a little bigger object to hold on to guide the ball into the cup. So we'll see. This ended up turning out a lot different than I thought. As you can see, that's the mouth, and I've needed an extra surface to come out, so when the marble dropped down, it had a landing zone it could go down in. And this was already a piece that I found. It was from this piece, and it was already cut at like the edge of a tongue, so it's kind of like his tongue is catching whatever's on the side here. And then I had to kind of build a little stand underneath it, which we'll see how all that holds. But I was going to put it like a pot of gold under there or something, but I just think it looks better with it just sort of flush across like that. So this will come down, whoop, and yeah, what's cool is if you use this one, it actually torques it down a little bit, and you can sort of guide it. You can use this one if you want, but this one's more the flicker for the cup. I think the luck of the Irish was with me again today. I've been visualizing this part of the project on the back side for a long time to get a plinko board. I'll be putting, these tees inside here with a marble drop that goes down to catch something here, and then tip that onto a track of some kind, goes into the horn, into the front. But I had to find the right piece of wood, and this piece of wood is interesting because it's part of a shelf, and it's cool in a way. I was going to paint it like a shield of the Medelia golf course logo, but I'm actually going to keep it because the stain is nice. Grandfather Cecil used to love to work with wood and do a lot of staining. It was the first place I ever smelled turpentine, and I just couldn't figure out why that was going on in his basement. But he had a workstation down there, and he loved it. So once I get these, you can see there's a little grid in pencil that I put in there, and that's where I'm doing these pilot holes that are really hard to get straight because I don't have a drill press or a bandsaw to have cut this out. I did this all by hand with literally like 6 different ways. It was just super difficult, but really satisfying when it's done. And then I was going to carve something into the back side of this and have it sit there, but I came up with the idea of just putting in these pegs with some carabiners, and then this way when you do the marble drop, you can actually tip it and angle it, like this any way you want, until once it drops down into the cup. And so there's still a lot to do, and I have to make sure that I get these as straight as possible, but somehow it's going to plink down into here. There's going to be the central hole. I may have a couple of side ones, snizzle frizzle straight down, black cow, purple cow, or blue cow, or whatever else drink we can think of, and then drain it into the front. So got a ways to go, but that's the shield. Shield is looking pretty sweet, lined up pretty cool, and they're straight. Gotta love YouTube. They were just like, if you want to drill a straight hole, you just put a couple pieces of wood together and you square that off, and then as you bring it down, you just hold that chuck right up against it, and that will create a nice, perfectly straight hole that goes in. So thanks, YouTube. It's getting weird back here in the back, so there's ways to go there, but I wanted to get in the barn door, so I had to shave off the ones it came with, drill some holes, snip the tips and shaved them down, filed them down so they're not so pokey, and then carve out a spot for the barn door, and I think it just came out great. These will screw in, and I may have some type of pull on there, and this is the wee people hideout. Lots of fun new stuff coming through. This morning I just put on another handle, and it is lower and asymmetrical to the other one, but I think if I put it up here it would have broke this chunk off. And originally I was going to use the horn as a handle and tuck under. Yep, my first accident in 4 years of making dioramas. I'll show you where I did it yesterday. And then some new additions here. Da da da! Wee People House doesn't have a lot of you can't tell way back in there, but there's going to be a couple beds and some hay and all that good stuff. And then I open this up a little bit here too, but you can see, well, what's that? That's a drop spot. And oh, where can you see it? There's another drop spot. If you go up in here and right down into the main entrance of the fairy house, because this is the one that has this big door on it, says a fairy lives here. Got the wee people, and then the leprechaun. I don't know what he does, he just kind of runs around. Cedric. So making some headway, and I'll show you what I did to get this drop here. This is kind of crazy, sort of my secret drop. It was a very interesting experience, both cutting my finger on the drill as I don't know if you can, well, you can see it, but there's a hole that goes down that ramp. So I drilled through there, and I was trying to see where it came out in the bigger fairy house, and I was palpating it, and you know what? I had just taken my gloves off, but that's how it works. And then I had to put this piece of wood down here as a ramp so you can launch it in as a back way to get the marble out, but that got stuck. It slid under when it was bigger, and it was for half an hour I was trying to fish that thing out with all kinds of tools. So I cut it smaller, packed it the second time, and it fit in pretty good. I'm a little bummed I had to use a screw to hold it, but eh. And then over here, while I was trying to fix this whole thing, get that piece out, I snapped off a piece of wood that was holding this part in. So now I actually had the end piece that came off of that one down there is this piece that I just screwed on here, and it's at a weird angle, but that's the only way I could do it. And so I got to figure out how to fix this to the whole piece. I think I'm going to drill through here, but it did kind of mess it up a little bit, but improvise. Always a tricky part of the project is doing the resin. I've kind of been doing it as I go along, but so the Viking horn on the inside of it, I'm going to make a strip that goes along the top. It will help cover the screws I'm going to use to screw it into the piece, and I think it'll just look cool as the marble is going down below. The top will have this orange strip that goes down. I'm making it bigger on this end and smaller on this end, and then I am going to fill up the cup with the Snizzle Frizzle juice here. And then I also have a little lamp, lantern that's going to go in the wee people room. I'm going to put some in. So we'll try it, and but that looks like a Snizzle Frizzle. I got some glitter in there. It's going to be sweet. So this is the next morning, early, probably waking up the neighbors. But I drilled a couple of holes in the top of the horn, and when I peeled this off, this came out pretty good. You can see it's actually a little bit curved, circular on that end, and that's going to go up along the top, and the holes will be drilled through there. And then I have these little rib-like arrows that I'm going to also have go around the top, going down that way. One, to help cover up the screw holes in the middle, and two, to kind of make it look cool, like it's you're following a path going down the horn. So I have to cut this one down to size. Cedric's eyeing that Snizzle Frizzle. I think is looking pretty good. I got a new cup, added the juice and a chain, and let's see how she rolls. Oh, yep. Unfortunately, I couldn't drill both holes with the horn inside into the piece. Only one of them I couldn't find the pilot hole in the other one, so it kept ripping, so I had to take that out. So he's pretty excited about that. Some drinks on board, and then this is not connected yet, but the Wee People home is almost finished. They like to get up to no good, so they have a little escape route. They can also play games on the ferries, or if Cedric's down there in the main house. And they got a bed back there. You can toss. I actually cut this piece out because it was flat, but I wanted to be able to toss a marble under there, let it roll down into the bottom. And I didn't want to have that go straight across in case a marble did get back there. It would have been really hard to get out. But you can see there are bales of hay above the wash basin, back on here, and of course, because Wee People like to go wee-wee a little bit, I got the bale of hay here and kind of a little porta potty outhouse. Initially, I had built the porta potty into this spot because I thought it would be hilarious that they're playing tricks on everybody down here, but then I thought, yeah, taking a dump on people over and over that's not too cool for little Wee People, and they just want to have some fun. So anyway, I think the Wee People house turned out awesome. I'm excited about it. Yes, indeed. Just finished a section I've been kind of dreading, the hearth of the Irish stew pot, because I was really having a hard time figuring out how to anchor here and here, because a big chunk came off. So you can see I ended up drilling a hole that way, and it kind of sticks out, but at least the screw matches this one, and it's sort of ugly, but it keeps this side down and stable. And then here I ended up, just eyeballing it and drilling a hole, right up through there, and pretty much guessed underneath I'd pre-drill a hole, and then I just screwed it in and anchored it that way. So it's solid now. And as you can see, there's a couple horseshoes on there and the ladle, and I did try it, and it twisted on the first try right there. So these are a little bit fragile. They're glued on. So I don't expect those will last a whole long, but it looks great. It's kind of how it looked back in the 70s. So it doesn't have a lamp on top, but I'm not going to go with that today. We've had some major changes. Good, all good. Got this, the barn door closes really nicely. I don't have to add a little piece to pull it out here. I'm really happy. It's pretty firm too. I added a lamp up there, which has some glow in the dark in it. And then back here, because these little tricksters like to cauldron up and cook up recipes, we have some bones in there that are part of their potion. And we still have the drop area, and that's going down to, I've done some serious remodeling in here. You can see it's like a big cavern in there. And I put some bales of hay because we have the fairy house, and this horse is called Cupcake because the fairy that lives there, her name is Cat, which sometimes the people from County Kilkenny, which is where Johnstown in Ireland is, their nickname for these people apparently were cats. And Cat is also a nickname for Catherine. So this thing that she's holding here used to have a flower on it, but I took it out and I put in a glow-in-the-dark orb that kind of looks like a cupcake. So she's going to end up, that's what she feeds the horse. And then, can't see this real well, but I made a stand This actually came out of the other cup that I was going to use for a snizzle frizzle. I broke the cup and this piece went flying in the air, but I'm going to put this up into the wall in here so that Cat can either use the cupcake stick or she can switch it out and use this little Sheleighly stick that came with this other, dollhouse type thing that I got to get some of the furniture. So it's not a great Sheleighly stick, but it's pretty cool because then she can hang on it and her arm moves up and down, so that's pretty fun. So I'll show you what it's like in a minute here once everything is inside. Let's start with a final video. I will do a glow-in-the-dark video tonight or tomorrow night, but this is the whole piece video and more or less the final one. You can see I put in an eyeball for the sloth because I'm making him the marble master. He has the most complex drop, and you can see Cedric there hanging out, getting a little sun. And this was my original idea, was to have a farm scene down in this, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I'm really happy how it turned out with the stew pot and being able to make it in there and just sort of the grassy area with the claw, the sloth claw, and then the drop down into the oxbow portion of the Watonwan River, the nose drop, booger drop with the drip tip on the end there. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes it stays. You got to push it back in, but that little drip is quintessential Manahan, that's for sure. And then his second little perch right here. So here you can see the whole thing is more or less a head, and the mouth is on the bottom, the nose kind of where Cedric is, and the secondary drip tip comes in the shot glass there through the other side. The eyes of the whole thing, maybe the cauldron there, and on the left eye, maybe not so much, but just kind of goes up into like a leprechaun head hat type of a thing. And so then we keep moving on, and we have what I like to call the saber-toothed tiger. Other people have thought it's other thing, that's why I put the claws on. I just think it looks really cool. Like this is an ear, there's the fangs, I didn't put an eyeball on this one, I just didn't need it. It looks like it's climbing up a tree. But I just love how the side came out with the Viking horn coming down into here, and if you pull this towards you, the ball will go into the side mouth with the tongue there. Otherwise, you can stop it with your finger here, let it come down slowly, or just lift this up, and then when you flick it in and try to get it in here, you have to basically use your hand as a bank to bank it in, and so your right hand flicks this and that one. On the other side, you got to use your left hand for the claw. So kind of works both sides. And then when we get to the back, dun-dun-dun, this came out way better than I thought it was going to. I had so many different pictures in my head, and as you can see, the golf tees are just really cool looking. You can't see it right now, maybe we'll do it at night and I'll tell you why some of these have little golf balls on them, because there is a story behind that. And of course the Snizzle Frizzle cup, I just added clamps back here so you can actually take this whole cup off if you want. Drop that down into the horn. There's some glow in the dark on that. And then as I showed before, we've now got a fully functioning, probably can't see it real well, Wee People barn. Not going to see them, they're pretty fast, but they're up to mischief. And then I finally, this was more complex than I thought I was going to be, getting this on, because I had to actually drill in the bottom, but it's pretty fragile, this resin material. So I had a few different tries and finally got it with a bunch of clear liquid nails that are on there, and so it's not fully dry yet, but it's hard to pull out. So I thought, you know what, let's do that. And so when you look in, you have Cat the Fairy, or Fairy Cat, and Cupcake, and then I have a holder for the Sheleighly stick or her wand. It kind of looks like a snake, so I might actually carve something different there. It's not great, but that is the full show. And you know, this goes back to a wee people story my grandfather told. He used to love having us come out and look around the barn for stuff, and it was a really fun part of my upbringing. And of course the Sheleighly stick itself, all the way up, quite a beautiful walking stick there. And you know, this is all about sort of being in nature and working with the elements. When we were out at the farm, we'd spend time running around out by the river, riding horses, and he always had this picture. It was a painting up next to his table that said, "You can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy." And I think that was, you know, there's that nature part of all of us that we forget to appreciate sometimes. So that's about it, as they say in Ireland. May the wind be always at your back. And I really enjoyed working with this piece, and hope you enjoyed watching the video. I'll be doing a glow in the dark right after this. The part I forgot to mention about this walking stick, to be more specific on the history of the Sheleighly, is it started somewhere along the shores of the Shannon River in Ireland. It made it to the wee people and the fairy folk and the leprechaun have had a long journey from the shores of the Shannon River in Ireland to Mill Creek shores in Chatfield, Minnesota, onto the Watonwan River at Oxbow Farm, then to the shores of the Minnesota River with Aunt Pat, now onto the shores of the Mowsum River in Kennebunk, Maine, soon to go back to the Mill Creek shores with Matt, the genealogist extraordinaire of the family, who will be keeping the wee people and all their friends up to no good near the shores of another Mill Creek in Cumberland, Maine. Good luck. And my favorite part, this is the glow in the dark segment, and you can see how nicely the shield came out, and there are some darker spots that you can see. There's a P, hard to tell, but there's a J, N, hard to tell, but there's a B. These have little golf balls, and an M right there, and those are the initials of the 5 kids. And so the ball, the glow-in-the-dark ball, will go into, let me brighten that up again. It'll go into the snizzle frizzle, and that's going to go down into the drinking horn here, the Norwegian drinking horn. Let's see if we can get that to go through. Oh, nice. Goes all the way through. And as we go into the lower portion, oh, you can't see it very well, but that the inside has the bed glows a little bit, and the lantern up top in the Wee People house glows a little bit. It's hard to tell. And down here, this little heart actually glows in the dark on its own, even without a light, which is nice for the fairy house. But when you open it up, the cupcake glows, and then the stand where the Sheleighly stick is glows. There's a little bit of glow down in there as well. So as the glow-in-the-dark marbles come through there, that should be kind of an interesting drop. Let's see if I can get one to go through here. Oh, yeah, that marble got stuck back there. Oh, we'll have to change that up. As we move to the front, there's some juice or whatever that is inside the shot glass. That glows, and then the tip of the tongue around the side coming out of the drinking horn, and then the tongue down there. So those, you can see those pretty good. And once you make it in there, that will go to the drip tip. There were so many surprises and interesting facets to this project that just came up. You know, I had to glue this area from dripping down from the grassy knoll, and you can see where a lot of that drained through into the basically the ground. But it looks pretty cool. And I had to, with resin, I held in this key that holds it. And then, of course, the key area here was just this grassy spot. Putting it at the right slope to get the ball to drain down. You can see that inside the cauldron there is one of the glow-in-the-dark marbles. And the eyeball up top of the sloth. And finally, you know, all the way down to the lake. In here. So it's just such an amazing piece of wood to work with, and just feel great how it came out. It's not very bright, the blue lake, but great fun. People are going to have fun with this. I can't wait to enjoy this with generations to come. And may the wind be always at your back. The project has yet to be named. Drip tip? What's it going to be? We just know that it's going to end with a smile. Here it is at the family reunion. Getting ready to take some pictures. Got it up on this big fireplace, and I'm going to announce the official name of it pretty soon. Now poke it through.
Ew,
oh, she did it!
Nice job, Maddie.
Hey, Maddie, what do you think about the Wee People?
What do you say about them?
You like the Wee People, Maddie?
Can you show us where they go?
They go to dancing.
Oh, okay. Where do the Wee People live in here? Do you know? Do you remember?
Here's a place.
Oh.
Okay.
Is there some up? Yep. No? That marble went somewhere.
Oh, it went down there.
And there you have it. The next generation
Maddie,
playing with
like
it.
The Wee People.
Where'd the marble go?
Where's a good place to put it?
Put it up there.
In your mouth.
Oh, the up. Oh, and there it is. She's
That's
trying to drop the ice cube down the snizzle frizzle.
Get it down in there yet?
She's almost got it. Tip it up a little bit more. Oh,
hey!
She did it, and it came out the front. And one more thing.
It's an amazing opportunity for little Maddie to learn about her Wee People heritage but for this work of art, she really would not have had an opportunity. And the fact is, she's been totally captivated, hasn't she, with the whole
Yeah, and the
concept.
black light. She loves the flashlight too with the black light. Yeah, and so Matt is going to be taking it out into the woods at his house along the trail.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Good.
So it'll get outside and they'll use it as a fairy garden.
Is Matt going to keep it forever, or is it
No,
gonna
no, I don't think so. I think it's going to travel,
But
but
we don't know yet.
right. And that's, we'll have to figure out how to move it around since it does have a little heft to it.
Well, it depends what the leprechauns want to do.
Ah.
That'll make a difference.
Well, great. Thank you. Thoughts about the Sheleighly Castle now that it's newly minted and named?
Well, the main thing I think about it is how Cecil Manahan has passed down his genetic love of this type of thing. Fantasy, Irish, angel, just the whole thing. And that he would be so, I'm sure he's dancing a jig up in heaven as you made this and brought it to our family reunion. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.